All right, welcome back to another episode of the Dave Cat Podcast. I am your host, David Reed, and it's been a while, but there's been a lot that's been going on in the NFL. We're going to talk about the blockbuster trade that just happened, and also we're going to talk about some teams that are going to move around in the draft, which could be a good idea for one in particular. We're going to get to that. And it looks like the Browns have made their decision on Baker Mayfield, at least for right now. And my mock draft 4.0 is going to be released, and you're going to see it right here. And we're going to discuss a little bit because there has been some trades and some changes also from the previous mocks. That's why we keep coming out with different ones. Stuff happens, and then you keep reading news that teams could be heading in different directions. So really what's going on is a lot of teams maybe want to move out in the second half of the top 10. So between 5 and 10, there's a couple teams in particular that want to trade out. But to get started with everything, we're going to talk about the blockbuster trade that did end up happening, and that was between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. And here is what I just don't understand. Like, if you're Baltimore, you have Lamar Jackson, and you know you have to protect him. You know he's a running quarterback. He doesn't pass well. He passes okay. But he's not an elite passer. He's not what you would call a pocket passer. I wouldn't even put him on Vic's level, in my opinion. Vic had a cannon. Maybe his accuracy wasn't as good as Lamar's, but overall, in the run game and in the passing game, Vic could torch you. Lamar Jackson has shown flashes in the passing game, but more or less, he's just a liability at best, just in my opinion. And you could see it on tape sometimes, where he struggles wanting to throw because he really wants to run most of the time, and it shows in his footwork and the way that he sits in the pocket. And when I look at Lamar Jackson, I see him as needing a lot of pieces around him to be very successful, and that being an offensive line. Orlando Brown played right tackle for the Baltimore Ravens. They must know something that I don't, or the rest of the world doesn't, that they have a plan to replace that tackle. Maybe they didn't want to pay him. He played well. He wasn't bad. But Kansas City is going to be reporting moving him to the left side, and he's going to play with Patrick Mahomes and protect his blind side. So that could be a good pickup. But the compensation, what happened was we have Baltimore receiving their first-round pick from Kansas City. It's the 31st overall. A third-round pick, a fourth-round pick in this year's draft, and a fifth-round pick in next year's draft. And Kansas City is receiving Orlando Brown, who's going from right side to the left side, and a pick from the second-round pick in this year's draft, and a sixth-round pick in 2022. So they're swapping 5 and 6 next year, and they're getting a lot of picks in this year. Baltimore is from Kansas City. And still, the way I look at it is Kansas City is in win mode now. A lot of these draft picks may not play for them immediately. They may take time, especially when you pick late every single year because you're in playoffs, AFC championships, and Super Bowls every year. So they see it as they need a player that's proven and someone that's going to help immediately. Orlando Brown fills that need, helping Kansas City solidify that offensive line. Not only did they trade for Orlando Brown today, but they also added Joe Thuney, a 5-year, $80 million, I believe. Added Kyle Long, re-signed Mike Remmers. So it looks like Kansas City's offensive line is coming into play. And the way that you want to see Patrick Mahomes have success is having the best protection. You saw it in the Super Bowl when Tampa Bay was all over him left and right. You never seen him in distress like that, Patrick Mahomes, that is. You haven't seen him really run around, not having a lot of time to pass the ball. And we saw that in the Super Bowl. It was very shocking to a lot of people that may not watch the Kansas City Chiefs a lot because it didn't happen on a consistent basis. Maybe sometimes, there was a couple drives here and there where the offensive line didn't play well, especially without their starting left and right tackle. But that didn't happen more or less until the playoffs when they were getting hurt. One was out the whole year. One was getting hurt in the playoffs. So when you're looking at Kansas City, they can't deal with injuries. They know that these two that they cut, Eric Fisher and the other one's escaping me off the top of my head. But they know that they were good, but we can't take a chance going into another Super Bowl and have them being hurt. So Orlando Brown fills that need, I believe. And that, like I said, I believe, in my opinion, Kansas City wins it because they're only dropping down from 31 to 58 in the first round to second round. And they're still getting a starting caliber left tackle who was a right tackle, but they're moving to the left side. So Kansas City wins it, in my opinion. They're getting the best player. They're getting a proven player. They're only moving down 27 spots from the first to the second round, and then they're giving up a 3 and a 4 and then swapping 5 and 6 next year. That's not bad at all. I see that as a win for Kansas City, absolutely. So seeing it that Kansas City now has their offensive line in play, they can concentrate on just whatever best player available, in my opinion, the rest of the draft. They can get another receiver, add to the arsenal they already have, maybe get a running back. I think they can get a top 5, maybe top 6 running back. I don't think 5 or 6 running backs are going to go before pick 58. I think Kansas City could find someone that compete with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or maybe they can concentrate on adding other places. Cornerback would be a nice place to draft. They can concentrate just on filling little pieces here and there. They don't have a lot of holes. So that's definitely a win for Kansas City. Now, moving on to just look at them. I just don't understand how it's got to be a money thing, right? Because they're about to pay Lamar Jackson a bunch of money, and this guy's about to get paid a lot of money. So they didn't want to pay both. Get some picks, I guess. You moved up 27 spots. I'm interested to see what they're going to do. I'm going to show my mock drafts and show you what I think they're going to do. But the guy was an anchor on the right side. Like, when you watch him play, he was above average. I believe he was ranked about 16 to 18 when it comes to pass blocking and run blocking. So he's solid overall. So, like I said, I think Kansas City won that, especially if he plays well on the left side protecting Patrick Mahomes. Now, Cleveland picked up the fifth-year option on Baker Mayfield. 1 year, $18.8 million, fully guaranteed next season. Not this season, but next season. So it looks like he's going to get paid roughly $11.5 to $12 million average this year and next year for the next 2 years, guaranteed. So they're going to see how he performs with more of what they're. I think they have some other sleeve. Maybe they're going to deal OBJ. Maybe they're going to move up in the draft to get another weapon for him. I know they're not going to get Kyle Pitts, but if Cleveland somehow traded up and got Kyle Pitts, they couldn't, because Atlanta wouldn't want OBJ and a slew of picks. They want to get good now and win with Julio and Matt Ryan. They only got a couple years left, in my opinion. So unfortunately for them, but man, if they could, Kyle Pitts would be great on any team. But for a quarterback like Baker Mayfield, who really looks for the tight end, I think that would be good for them. And I think they can I think if they can move up, they can get a Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle. They're not going to get Jamar Chase unless they can convince Miami. They would have to give up a lot. And I don't know if Miami really wants OBJ in a slew of picks, which is, I think, what they would offer. So looking at it, we're going to see how Baker Mayfield performs. I think he's going to do well. I don't see him regressing hard. I don't really see him playing a lot better than he played last year. I really see him more or less playing the same, maybe a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse. I don't really think it's going to be much of a change, because in Stefanski's system, they ask the quarterback to do enough. They don't ask him to do a lot. They concentrate on the run game, and they're not really game managers. They're still quarterbacks, but they don't ask them to do as much in other systems like you would see maybe in Kansas City, maybe you would see in LA with the Rams, maybe you would see in Tampa Bay. There's other systems that demand more from their quarterback than the Stefanski system. So I don't think he's really going to change, and that's why I think they still are unsure on him. And that's why they're going to pick it up now, because as long as he can play this way the next couple of years, then they can get him at a good, solid number. They're not going to pay him with the top 5, but they're going to try to, they're going to have to pay him a lot. But they're going to know, look, this is your numbers, this is how you play. You got the great support run system. Now, if they went out and drafted like Najee Harris or Etienne, I mean, obviously they'd have to get rid of like Chubb or Hunt. My guess would be Chubb for the money and all the poundage he's taken. So get Najee in there to take the rock and then still have Kareem Hunt. But I think doing this now, they have it's good for the locker room. I think everyone's going to know that they have Baker Mayfield for the next 2 years. As long as he plays well, I think he'll still continue to take over that locker room and be a more of a leadership role. He already is the quote-unquote leader, but it's Baker Mayfield. So a lot of guys don't really look to him. They look to, other places of motivation, I'm sure. But with Baker Mayfield now for sure there for 2 years, we'll see how he is because I think like I said, he's not going to change much. The Kevin Stefanski system doesn't call for it. They don't demand much from the quarterbacks. So now going into this draft, there's a lot of rumblings that there's 2 teams in particular between 5 and 10 that want to move out of the first round. Looks like the Lions and the Panthers are open to moving back. This is why I think it's a good idea. I think Detroit, they need a lot of picks because they're like the Swiss cheese where they have a lot of holes. And they could use a lot of those picks to pick up a lot of defensive players, add to that offensive line, and pick up a quality running back down the line. That's why I think they don't need to get a quarterback now, even though in my mock draft I had them taking a quarterback. I think Detroit would do well to trade back. But looking at Carolina, they could get a solid corner. They can get Surtain. They can get Horn. There's solid players in that top 8, especially if player or teams trade up within that top 5 to take quarterbacks. We already know 1, 2, and 3 is going to go quarterback. But what about 4 and 5? You got Atlanta there. I think Cincinnati stays and takes Sewell, the tackle out of Oregon. But what about Atlanta? They're going to take Kyle Pitts. But what if they get an enticing offer from a team that wants to move up to take a Trey Lance or take a Justin Fields? Because I think that's who's going to be available. Looking at my mock draft, I mean, I'm looking at this, and I think Atlanta is a good spot to move back. Looking at other teams that would move up for a quarterback, you're looking at New England at 15. You're looking at maybe the Reds or the Washington football team at 19, Chicago at 20. Other than that, I don't think Pittsburgh is going to try to move up from 24 all the way to 4. That you would have to, I don't know if they have the ammo unless they're offering 3 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, 3 third-round picks. That's a big jump. So really, if you're looking at it, maybe Denver. I'm looking at Denver because they want a quarterback. I had them taking Trey Lance. But what if they want Justin Fields? What if the Niners shock the world and don't take Mac Jones, which is what everyone, the whole NFL world is expecting at this time? What if they take, what if Mac Jones isn't, if he doesn't go, so let's look at it this way. Let's say 49ers take Justin Fields, okay? And then all of a sudden Mac Jones is available, and then, Denver wants him. Maybe, I don't think Philly would. Minnesota wouldn't either because, honestly, I think they're riding the Kirk Cousins train. I think they, for some reason, still like him. And I don't know. When you look at Minnesota, they're having success, and he's not playing bad. But is he enough to win it all? Is he? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't think Minnesota is going to trade up and then draft a quarterback. But I think there's possibilities of other teams moving back, and that's where, like I said, Detroit, Carolina are in prime spots to move back just in case certain quarterbacks are available right there. So if Justin Fields is still available at 7. And there's, teams can move up to that spot, but I really think that prime spot is number 4. Number 6 is an also option because Miami already has traded back once. And I think they'll do it again. So let's say Mac Jones is still the one picked at 3, and then Pitts and Sewell, but then you got Justin Fields available there at 6. Well, if Denver really wants Fields bad, and they know and here maybe Detroit might take a quarterback, well, they might move up to 6 and jump them. I think Denver moving up to 4 and taking a quarterback makes a lot of sense here. I have them already taking Trey Lance, but like I said, what if the 49ers don't take Mac Jones? What if they take, Fields or Trey Lance? Which, in my opinion, Justin Fields would shock me more out of all that. I think Trey Lance and Mac Jones, obviously, I believe that's who's going to go there at 3. But I think Trey Lance wouldn't surprise me too much. I think Trey Lance is up for debate because he's got that frame to be a great quarterback, and he could sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo and develop. Now, when I'm looking at the other picks, I think, like I said, Miami is another option to move as well. But New England at 15, if they're really serious about getting a quarterback and developing them, sitting behind Cam Newton for the year with better weapons, they can move up to 6. I don't think so, not with Miami, but to 4 out of conference, not even close to the same division. With Atlanta, what are they going to give Atlanta? They'd have to give them a lot. I think it's possible. I don't think they would fall back that far because 49ers would lose a prime player. That's why look at Denver because I think they can move up. But Detroit and Carolina, I think that between them, Carolina is more likely to move back. I think Detroit stays and takes a quarterback. I think they'll move back if the right quarterback's not there. If they're really, like I said, if they're dead set on Mac Jones, like, okay, we're only going to take Mac Jones, a quarterback at 7, if Mac Jones is available, then I think that they would trade back if they don't like Justin Fields or if they don't like Trey Lance. But I think Detroit won't trade back if their quarterback is there at 7. It makes too much sense. They could sit behind Goff. That would cause some quarterback controversy. So maybe they don't do it. I wouldn't be surprised because I already think that's a circus up there. But running through the mock draft that I have, I got Trevor Lawrence, obviously. Nothing's really changed much within the top 6, 7. I still have Detroit taking a quarterback. But now I have Carolina taking Patrick Surtain, corner out of Bama, which changes up a little bit. With also Denver taking a quarterback and not, I used to have Micah Parsons there. So I have Micah Parsons falling all the way down to 19, going to Washington football team. He didn't play last year, and a lot of teams are turned off by that. So I think the 5 quarterbacks for sure going in the top 10, no questions asked. I still think Dallas is going to get a corner, whether that be J.C. Horn, maybe Caleb Farley, but I think J.C. Horn is the pick there. The Giants aren't taking a wide receiver. They're taking the best tackle available. That's Rashawn Slater. Move him to the right side, or even replace him on the left side and move last year's pick, I think it was Andre Thomas, to the right side. Then this is where Philly gets their slot receiver, Devonta Smith. Reported only 166 pounds, 6 foot. It's not a big build. You come across the middle, you get slapped by a linebacker, you might not get back up. The Chargers, I like the Darisaw pick. I really think that they need that tackle help, and I think Justin Herbert is just going to be happy with this draft because they got their quarterback, they got a good defense, they got a decent, in my opinion, third down back in Eckler. Sorry, he's a very good third down back. He's not every down back, in my opinion. He is probably one of the best third down backs in the NFL. Get another running back if they can in the second round. If they can possibly get one of them out of North Carolina, I think that would do well for the Chargers as well. But if I was a Chargers fan, I'd be happy going in the draft because there's not really too many holes that they have to concentrate on. And then going on to Minnesota, I still have them taking a safety, Trevon Moehrig, out of TCU. That would solidify another spot that they need. But like I said, New England taking a wide receiver, Jalen Waddle, wouldn't be surprised. But watch out for them trading up. Watch out for them trading up to 7. Watch out for watch them trading up to 4. I can see them doing it if they're really pleased with the quarterback. Now, there's rumors that Jordan Love and Green Bay is going to swap picks and send Jordan Love to New England. So we'll see what's going on there. But for now, I think that New England's still in the quarterback market, so watch out for them. But there's no quarterbacks available in that 15 spot worth taking. So I think Jalen Waddle's a pick. Arizona needs defensive tackle help. They're going to take Christian Barmore. The Raiders are going to get a solid corner in Farley. And moving down the line, I still got the Bears taking Rashad Bateman. They need that wide receiver help. They desperately need that wide receiver help. So I can see them taking Rashad Bateman if he is there, or any decent wide receiver prospect that is there. Indianapolis getting Kwity Paye, that would be a solid draft pick for them. Tennessee getting Greg Newsome, that would be a solid draft pick for them. They gave up the most points out of any team in the playoffs last year. The Jets, Asante Samuel Jr. with their second first-round pick, the 23rd overall. That would be a good pick. I think Asante Samuel or Tevin Jenkins, who I have going to Pittsburgh at 24. I think that would be either of those two I'd be happy with. Would I rather have Jenkins? Probably. Do I see them taking a corner over a tackle? Probably. Only because the coach is a defensive coach and the Jets do need a corner. So how do they value the possible tackle position at the 34th pick in the second round to the corners that could be possible available? It just depends how the draft plays out. If corners are dropping like crazy, then you could see the Jets taking a tackle, and tackles are being picked. They could take a tackle and then get corner with their second round pick, 34th overall. But if tackles are going like crazy, and the corners are dropping like crazy, then I think the Jets would draft a corner right there, or a tackle like the other way around. So if if all the corners are gone, Farley's taken, Asante Samuels is gone. He's the last one I got going in the first round. If all of them are gone, then they have no choice. They got to go with a tackle. I don't see the Jets taking a running back. Not in the first round. If they took a running back, some weird stuff would have to happen in the draft where all the good tackles, all the good corners would get taken. Maybe an edge rusher. But I still think the Jets are going to be dead set on a corner or offensive tackle. Or a lineman, sorry. Could be a center as well. There's one out of Alabama that I think the Jets could draft as well. But overall, defensive head coach, they already took a quarterback with the first pick. It's either going to be a corner or a tackle, and I think in this instance, it's going to be a corner. So Pittsburgh getting that tackle to help Ben Roethlisberger, but I wouldn't be surprised if they took a running back. They are in the running back market. They don't have Connor anymore. They could take Najee Harris. I wouldn't be surprised, but they really do need that offensive line help. And if Tevin Jenkins is there, he's a very good prospect. I really think that Tevin Jenkins could get selected with that pick. Jacksonville getting another tackle, Walker Little. He didn't play last year, but he's a good prospect. He was going to be a top 15 pick before he got hurt. I think that this might not be the pick, but they're going to take a tackle. Walker Little is raw, but I think that Jacksonville and Urban Meyer, he's going to know what he's doing for the first couple years. I think he knows, college players well. I think he knows Walker Little has very good talent, but I think it's going to be a tackle, and I think Little is going to be the pick. Cleveland taking the linebacker, Owosu Koromora. I've always had that going for a couple mock drafts because that just makes too much sense. They can just add to that defense and become a vaunted defense, not only in the AFC North, but in the whole AFC. And when you're going to be playing against Kansas City deep into the playoffs, and you have just an amount of defensive talent like they already have on the defensive line, adding Koromora, who's a top linebacker prospect in this draft, wouldn't be fair, in my opinion. And I think they're going to scoop him up because the guy's really good. Played well for Notre Dame. And I think Cleveland could use him and rotate him in that slew of front seven talent they have going on over there. Now, here's where Baltimore did. Remember they traded. Remember they traded Orlando Brown to go back up to 31. So now they have 27 and 31. They're going to get a wide receiver. It's going to happen. Elijah Moore is going to be the pick. I don't think they're going to take Terrence Marshall or Rondale Moore. I got a little run on wide receivers because this is where the middle talent, not the elite talent of the prospects, but the middle talent before you start getting into projects, before you start getting into issues, before you start getting into raw players that you have to develop. Rondale Moore, he's a great outside receiver that could help Devontae Adams. Played slot as well, but more or less, I think he could be more of an outside receiver in that Green Bay system. There's not a lot of talent there outside of Devontae Adams. You saw that last year with Scantling dropping passes and everyone else. They were rotating him left and right with injuries, and they just weren't playing well. New Orleans, though, I haven't taken a wide receiver. I have a hard time believing that they won't explore other positions. The rumor is they really are going to go hard after wide receiver. But, I mean, Jason Owe, is it Owu? Is it Owu? I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Owe? Or Jalen Phillips. Either one of them would do great in that Saints defense. And they would, with no Drew Brees, you have to do as much as you can to help out the quarterback. Yes, a wide receiver would do that, but they already have one of the best slant runners and short pass game wide receivers in Michael Thomas. And they already have Alvin Kamara. I really think, in my opinion, I think edge or wide receiver, but I think they're going to be too excited to see a wide receiver addition onto that offense to help out whatever quarterback they have there. I think it's Jameis Winston. But 3 wide receivers going in a row, I think it's going to happen because, like I said, Chicago with Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman's one of the last good wide receiver projects. You got Jamar Chase, who's the elite. You got Devontae Smith, who's elite prospect. Jalen Waddle, who's the last elite prospect. Then I got Rashad Bateman being just a step under Waddle in that tier. And then that's where I also have maybe a quarter of a step below Rondale Moore, Terrence Marshall, and Elijah Moore. And then after that, that's where you have maybe another step or two down, but you still have plenty of talent in the rest of the NFL draft when it comes to wide receiver. But Buffalo, I had troubles with this. I have them taking a running back in other mock drafts. I still think that that's in play. I still think Najee Harris or Travis Etienne is in play at 30. But if they do desperately need some edge play to help with that defense because they lost with retirement and free agency. They lost linebackers and a lot more on that defensive line. They have talent there. But if Buffalo wants to compete with Kansas City and get to that Super Bowl, they have to get him off the field. They have to get Patrick Mahomes off the field. What they saw in the Super Bowl is what everyone else saw. That if you apply pressure and you have plenty of rotational pieces on that defense, you can get after Patrick Mahomes and you can make him flustered. Even though he's amazing, he may not throw the best ball, and their receivers have been seen not to catch them. Travis Kelce, talking to you. We all saw that in the Super Bowl. I saw it. My neighbor saw it. Come on, man. That was a good pass. But still, Patrick Mahomes can't do everything. So, you saw with the offensive line, when they didn't have a lot of help on it, he didn't have good protection. He got flustered in the pocket. He didn't perform as well. But they do have a better offensive line now, which is why Buffalo has to look at getting more pieces on that defense. That's why Cleveland needs more pieces on that defense. If Kansas City is, lock and loading on that offensive line, if you're a competitor in the AFC to go to the Super Bowl, you got to do something about that. You can't just sit there and expect that your same defense every year is going to work. You got to keep adding to it. That's why Cleveland and Baltimore and Buffalo are going to take defensive pieces in the first round. It only makes sense. I think they could take a running back, Buffalo. I think they could. Maybe Baltimore could take a running back. I don't think they will. They got to take defense because they got to compete with what Kansas City just did. They just told the whole NFL, and especially the AFC, we have a top offensive line now on paper. What are you going to do about it? We fixed our issue. The only issue we had, aside from Travis Kelce dropping the ball, was the offensive line. They fixed it. Now what? What if they just spend the rest of their draft on offensive pieces and corners? What is everyone going to do? I don't know. I'm glad the Jets are a couple years away because once Patrick Mahomes' contract starts kicking in and the Jets start taking over, then they're not going to have half those pieces. So I'm all right with that. But we're going to start. I was off for last month. I'm going to get back in it. I had a lot of stuff going on. Wedding. Went to a friend's wedding. I didn't get married. No Mrs. Reed. But Monty got married. Seth's getting married. I think Monty's still at his honeymoon. That's why I'm doing it by myself tonight. But they'll be back. Within the next week or two, we'll all be back. We're going to do fantasy. I'm going to do a fantasy show in the next few days. I'm going to do a draft episode Thursday before the draft. And then we're going to do a draft party on Discord. So if anyone wants to join, you're more than welcome to join there. But I'll post a link on the Dave Cat podcast page. And then I'll post it on my actual Facebook for the ones that actually have me. But until then, I think that there's still going to be another trade. And if there's another blockbuster trade, I'll more than definitely do another show, hopefully right afterwards, just depending on what's going on. But I think there's going to be another trade. Watch for New England. And I wouldn't be surprised Denver and New England are the two teams I can see moving up for a quarterback. Chicago's a little far out. Unless they're trading Mac or one of their defensive pieces and first-round picks, maybe. But I don't think so. Dark horse pick, Chicago. But like I said, I think Denver and New England, those are the ones I can see. I'm going to do one more mock draft too. I'm going to do it on next Thursday. So that hopefully there's another trade and, it'll be locked and loaded. But this will change regardless because we're going to hear more of what's going on up in the coming days, closer to the draft. We'll see. I think for the most part, unless the team trades up to 4, 1 through 6 is already set. 7 is where the draft starts, in my opinion. So, where to download the show. All the platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora. Anywhere that you get your favorite podcasts. I'm going to upload this to YouTube later. Had it on Facebook Live. It was just easier to set up to get it going real quick. So until next time, thank you for downloading.